Friends of the Bentley family, as well as campaigners who fought Derek Bentley's case over decades, were at his grave today, paying their respects to a man whose conviction has been reversed, but whose punishment never could be. It may be that the hanging of Derek Bentley somehow made the case feel less urgent to the busload of Home Secretaries across whose desks it passed over the years. But the fact remains the death penalty was the result of a mistrial. That was the verdict today, and the evidence in the case was shockingly flawed. Mike Donkin has been following the latest in the lengthening line of miscarriages of justice.
The champagne was bought by Derek Bentley's late father in 1958 to toast the full pardon the family had always sought. It's taken them 4 more decades to crack it, and to overturn one of the most controversial murder convictions in British legal history. Bentley was 19, but had the mind of an 11-year-old when police cornered him on the roof of a warehouse he was trying to rob. His accomplice, Christopher Craig, fired the shot which killed PC Bernard Miles, but Bentley was accused of inciting the crime.
Let him have it, Chris!
Those now notorious words were apparently heard by 3 policemen and sent Bentley to the gallows. Craig, too young to hang, served 10 years, but has always maintained his friend's innocence.
He didn't say a word. Not a word came from him. He was just taken away, meek and mildly. Bentley wasn't aggressive. He was a flash, but non-aggressive. I don't believe he'd harm a fly.
Bentley's incriminating verbatim statement has always been disputed too. He would have been incapable, linguistic experts say, of the turns of phrase they label police speak. Bentley's former teacher agrees.
He was educationally subnormal, as we called it in those days. He could not read or write. He was illiterate, and he could barely sign his name. In fact, he signed it with a cross.
This is the man the appeal court holds responsible for denying Bentley the basic right of a fair trial. The summing up of Lord Goddard, then Lord Chief Justice, was unfair. The jury was misdirected on evidence like that of the 3 policemen.
The police officers that night, and these 3 officers in particular, showed the highest gallantry and resolution. They were conspicuously brave. Are you going to say that they are conspicuous liars?
Today's Lord Chief Justice didn't just condemn his predecessor, he apologised for the legal profession. It must be a matter of profound and continuing regret, he said, that this mistrial occurred and that the defects we have found were not recognised at the time. Hardly a shred of evidence has emerged since Derek Bentley's execution here to change the case against him, so a whole succession of Home Secretaries could have come to today's conclusion. Instead, there's been a culture of reluctance to admit that the legal establishment got it so inexcusably wrong in a case where the man wrongfully convicted paid such a terrible price.
So the police took Bentley, and the very next thing let him dangle.
It could hardly have been more of a cause célèbre. Films, books, even songs. And throughout, Bentley's elder sister Iris patiently petitioning for the pardon she never lived to see. The campaign built up a case which in 1992 seemed overwhelming when presented to the then Home Secretary.
My judgment in the end, having to take a dispassionate view on an issue which I know obviously arises strong emotions, is that he was rightly convicted of murder. There are no grounds for the exercise of the royal pardon.
I held in complete contempt. It meant that my mother isn't alive to actually see this day, and I do hold him slightly responsible for that.
In the cramped solicitor's office, which has been campaign HQ since the 60s, Ben Bernberg, who's logged every twist in the Bentley case, believes that one document sums up the authorities' attitude. It's a leaked memo from a senior Home Office civil servant, guiding ministers on how to handle things.
It would, I think, be very important, presentationally, for ministers to order further inquiries.
She went on.
I can foresee considerable pressure if we turn Bentley down at the first stage without being seen to have made any inquiries into the material.
It's a disgraceful story, and it needs to be looked into, and I'm going to ask that there's at the very least an internal Home Office inquiry into what happened. Inhumanity of the Home Office year after year, and then the blocking, the frustration of attempts to reopen the case year after year.
One of the Bentleys' few hard-won concessions in 45 years was the right to rebury Derek outside the grounds of Wandsworth Jail, where he met what the family have called judicial murder. Now, at last, they say, he can rest in peace.